Good morning. Hi, Jambi. Hi, Nick. Hi, Suki. Hey, BL. Hey, Spiros. How you doing? How's everyone doing? Hope you're all well. Just trying to make sure everything is right. Fantastic. We had quite a number of good trade setups that we saw play out quite nicely last night. Hope you guys got onto some of those trades. How am I feeling? I didn't rest very well, but I'm back in the office, so I'm feeling fantastic. Always good when I'm in the office. Hey Ola, how you doing? And it's a little bit rainy in Singapore today. It's a little bit rainy. I wouldn't go as far as saying it's like a London weather, but it's a little bit more rainy today, not as hot. We'll give it a couple of minutes before we get started. Ah, okay. So you guys stole the sun, we stole the rain. If you're watching, if you're new to the session, I see a couple of people on Trading View. If you're new to the session, do drop a message, say hi, let me know where you're joining from. If you're on YouTube, do drop a message, let me know where you're joining from. Hey Tambi, how you doing? Spiros is still in Greece. Very nice. Hey Booba, hope you're all trading well. One more minute and we shall get going. I need to keep moving around just to check that I'm not um, hung. The computer's not hung. Alrighty. Not a lot happening in the markets today. I did have a quick scalp on the Aussie dollar. I did have a quick scalp on the yen as well. A continuation of the yen. So last night, it broke out to the upside, took a bit of the upside move, closed out before I went to bed, and then this morning continued a little bit more again. Alrighty, let's get started. So again, thank you all for jumping onto this daily market analysis, which I do every 3 p.m., every weekday, 3 p.m. GMT plus 8. So if you're new to the session, please drop a message. Let me know that you're here. Say hi. Let me know where you're from or where you're tuning in from. If for all the regulars, and I recognize all the names for all the regulars, a big welcome back. Thank you for taking time to join me during this session. All right. If you haven't already, do make sure you click on that thumbs up button, that rocket ship button on TradingView, just so that this session can be found by more people, gets more people onto the session, and also gets more people into the trading community where the link is there. Someone did message me on TradingView saying, "Is this a subscription channel or community?" No, it's not. It's absolutely free to join. It will be kept free to join and free to be in. All right. So make sure if you haven't already, do join up. I'm trying to hit 500. We're at 200 and something. I'm trying to hit 500 in the hopefully next couple of months. With that said, what we do during this daily market analysis, we look at the fundamentals, do a bit of a review and a preview of what news has happened and is coming up. We look at the technicals in terms of where is price at the moment, combine that together. We look for some possible trade setups. All right, and as usual, when we talk about trade setups, a quick disclaimer is that any information contained on this webinar should not be construed as advice and is presented as educational material only. Please do your own due diligence because the contents of this webinar is not intended to be a recommendation to trade a financial product. It's really how I look at the markets, sharing with you my thoughts and views about the markets, the currency pairs, the commodities, what is on my watch list, what I'm looking to possibly jump or trade, I'm possibly looking to jump into. And also remember that your objectives, financial situation, and needs has not been considered, and you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances. Because when we start talking about trades, talking about stop loss levels, take profit levels, it's all about risk management, right? It's not so much about how much money can you make. It's all about looking for that good setup, looking for that consistent setup, and then managing your risk whenever you jump into a trade or before you jump into a trade as well. Okay, so do make sure you consider all of that before you jump into a trade, not just blindly jumping into a trade because price has hit a certain level that we spoke about. With that as well, during the session, if you have any trading related questions at any point in time, any particular pairs you would like me to look into, or instruments, or anything you'd like me to look into, do let me know. I'll be happy to share with you my points of view. Even if it's trading psychology, methodology, any thought process that you'd like to clarify, you can do it here during this session, put it into the chat, or you can also share it into the training community, and then we can explain more there as well. Okay, Tembi is from South Africa. Good to have you from South Africa. Hey, I am Miko. Good to see you back. Haven't seen you for a while. And Data Farouk, good to see you back as well. Okay, so with that, let's keep going. In terms of the news, what we had last night, right? What we had last night, 8:30 p.m. GMT plus 8, we had the Canadian with their CPI number. CPI month to month climbed a little bit, so it went from a 0.5% to a 0.7%. A slight climb on a month to month basis, but the median CPI went from a 4.6 revised down to 4.5. They were expecting 4.3. It dropped a little bit more than expected to a 4.2. Okay, median CPI is the CPI that is a sample compared to the previous sampling. Where was it? Change in the median price of goods and services. Okay, compared to the trimmed CPI, which is excluding the most volatile 40% of items. So trimmed CPI year to year as well went from 4.4%. Expected 4.1 is still dropped, but not as much as expected, to a 4.2. So overall, what we're seeing on a year-to-year basis for median and trimmed CPI for the Canadians is a slowdown in inflation growth. A slowdown in inflation growth, leading to possibly increased or supporting the Bank of Canada's decision to hold on further interest rate hikes, right? To pause on their rate hikes. I don't think any central bank is close or approaching that decision to cut rates yet. But for now, I think that most central banks, or a lot of central banks, are approaching the level of peak rates. They are seeing inflation growth taking a turn towards the downside. So we're now at the level, for Bank of Canada, they have reached peak rates, they have paused. They just need more evidence to support that pause. The FOMC is also discussing that pause. The ECB still looks like they might hike rates slightly further, but also considering a pause together with the Bank of England, despite their recent rate hike, also considering maybe one more rate hike and then a pause. So it's shifting. The overall theme of the central banks is shifting slightly from rate hike to pause, right? Looking for evidence to support that pause. Hopefully, towards the end of the year or into next year, we're going to see that pivot, and we're possibly going to see some cut in interest rates decisions. Okay, Very important to be looking for that cut in interest rates. It's going to help a lot of households with their mortgage payments, with their loans. So I think that's something that probably needs to happen sooner rather than later, but possibly end of the year to next year. Also, as another way to try and avoid a recession in the US or even a global recession. Okay, so that's going to be quite important there. With that, so looking at this CPI number for the Canadians, what we actually saw during that news release, that was at 8:30. So what we saw, Canadian dollar strengthened, right? Canadian dollar strengthened down from 1.346, about 1.3462 down to this 61.8 retracement level at 1.3420. So right, briefly strengthened down before bouncing back up again. So why did it bounce back up? It's really that retail sales number. Okay, the retail sales number for the US. Core retail sales for the US went from minus 0.8 revised up to minus 0.5 to a 0.4, although it is a red number. So this could be the point where it becomes a little bit misleading for some people, is that they look at it and go, it's a red number. Why is the dollar getting stronger? You can see here at 8, where was it? At 8 p.m., the dollar actually got stronger, right? So why is it that despite it being a red number, the dollar got stronger? It's not just a red or green number that you need to pay attention to. You also want to consider that the data shows that core retail sales swung from a negative position, a negative 0.5, to a positive 0.4. Relatively big swing. And then retail sales number went from a minus 1%, revised slightly to a minus 0.7, went to a 0.4. So it went from a minus 0.7 to a 0.4. So a relatively big swing again. Okay, so that, despite it being a red number, is somewhat positive for the US dollar. That's why we saw a dollar index at 8 p.m. bounce pretty much from that 102.40 level up towards right now about that 102.70 level. Okay, that's also why we saw the Canadian dollar bounce up from this point. So we were talking about this during the last session for the USCAD. We're looking for reaction at a 1.3425 level, which was right here, 1.3425. We're looking either it breaks, bounces from here to go back up, we had that buying opportunity, or break down from here to sell down. So we saw that it actually bounced and went back up. I know a couple of you did get onto that trade, so well done there. If you did get into that trade, put in the chat and let me know. Good morning, Angel Case. How are you doing? Hi, Jamil. Good to see you online. So that was what happened last night in terms of the major news events. We did have a smattering of other news events, but they didn't move prices too much at that point. It was more still a trending scenario. Moving on to today. Give me 1 second. I'm getting a bit of echo. Had to close the door. Less echo now. Okay, good morning, Goju. How are you doing? So moving on to today, what we had early this morning was the Aussie with their wage price index, quarter on quarter. Good job, Haider. You got the US CAD trade, the loonie trade. Well done. Okay. So Aussie with their wage price index, as it was released, updated the group about this. What we saw was it stayed at that 0.8%. Wage price index is an indication of wage inflation, in this case for Australia. They were expecting it to go from a 0.8 to a 0.9. They were expecting some increase in wage inflation in Australia, but what we actually saw was that it stayed at a zero point 0.8. So given that it stays at a zero point 0.8, this gives some indication, slight indication, that while wage inflation is steady, is stable, might signal that um, inflation in Australia might, the next coming data on inflation in Australia might not be to the upside, might either hold steady or might even show some down or slowdown in growth. So with that news release, what we actually saw on the Aussie, let's see here at there. And at 9:30 a.m. time, it just dropped. It went from that 0.6657 level down towards 0.6644. It is a quarter-on-quarter number. It is brief, so we did see it come down to this support level or area and bounce back up. Okay, so it bounced back up, retraced. I did catch a small trade on Aussie down, found that support again, and now it looks like it's bouncing back up. So that was the news we had this morning. All the way, nothing much. We do have Euro CPI numbers to be released later at 5 p.m. GMT +8, but I don't think it's going to be a big price mover given that final CPI year on year looking to stay at 7%, final core CPI looking to stay at a 5.6%. So not expecting a change there. I don't think it's going to move the euro dollar too much. While it's be something I'll consider, but not something I'm going to hold off too much or worry too much about it trying to change any price direction or directional bias of price. 5:50, we do have the Bank of England Governor Bailey speaking, which is due to speak at the British Chamber of Commerce Global Annual Conference. So I don't think this will be moving prices too much. And then through that, no other news. Into tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. again, Aussie employment numbers to be released. Unemployment rate looking like no change at 3.5%. Employment change looking to go from a 50, well, previously at 50, expected a 24.8. I think we're possibly going to see unemployment rate stay at 3.5%. Employment change could see a better than expected number. It could see a better than expected number here, maybe a 30 something, maybe a 40K number here. Okay, so if that does come around, then we might see some upside on the Aussie dollar early tomorrow, especially early tomorrow morning. With that, employment claims, again, it is Thursday, so the employment claims number is a weekly number, not going to factor in too much for that. Swiss on Ascension Day, bank holiday, together with the French and the Germans. So I would think that we might see a bit of a lower, we might see a little bit of a lower volatility, slightly lower volatility tomorrow afternoon. Okay, and then Governor Bailey speaking at a press conference for the Financial Systems Review. I don't think it's going to move too much. But all that, we'll do an update tomorrow during our session on the daily market analysis. So with all that said, here looking at the dollar index, yesterday when we spoke about this, we were anticipating that price would come down towards this 102 level and bounce back up. Moved somewhat as we had thought of, but not as deep, right? So it didn't drop to that 50% retracement level. In fact, it only came close to that 38.2 before bouncing back up. Similar fashion, but not as deep. So take that away for now. With the dollar, let me just update this on the 17th. So if you haven't noticed already, I do have this summary sheet here for you guys. I will post this at the end of the session. I tend to try and remember to post it. Sometimes I forget. Um, so we'll post that up. Right? With the dollar right now, I think that we're likely to see, look at the way it's pushing up, we're likely to see it trade up to that 103 level. Okay, and you would notice as well that it has been supporting that move to the upside. After finding that strong support here at 101, right, if I just zoomed out like that, you can see it found support at 101 over this last 3 times. Then it bounced up, and then price has been supported to the upside by this upward trend line. Anticipating that the dollar index should continue trading higher to 103. Let me say could continue trading higher to 103. Main thing right now, good morning, Jordan. How you doing? Hi, M Leader. Hi, Patrick. Main thing now, I would say that this hour is going to be crucial. This hour is going to be crucial because you can see that it tried to trade down a little bit, but it's still pushing the upside potential. Looks like it might get to 103 as I'm speaking. But why I say it's crucial is because I wanted it to break above this level. Why is that going on? Hang on. I wanted it to break above this previous high that we saw on Monday, right? So now that it's breaking above, I think that we could see it get towards 103. Beyond 103, you can see 103 has held quite strong. The last time it got to 103 and rejected was early April. The third touched and came back down. Beyond 103 would be 103.30. I would even say 103.50. Right? I would take 103.50 with possibly some hesitation at 103.30 or even, yeah, okay, no, I'll do 103.50. So looking at this, the current view is that the dollar, I'll take this away, right, could trade up to 103 if it breaks beyond that, 103.50. But this is going to be the crucial level just because over the last couple of times it got to 103 and rejected very strongly down. Okay, so if I just extended that up, you'll see, um, yeah, it could do, I think what could happen, and I'm running a big risk here trying to do too much projection, is to do that, then after that, do that again. Right, it could just go up 103, reject, come back down, find the support, and push back up again. So I'll be watching for something, possibly something like that. It is at 102.80 right now, so it's not that far away from 103. Okay, all good so far. With that for the dollar index, then looking at the Kiwi. So this comes to the point where it's very interesting. Okay, Kiwi dollar from yesterday's analysis didn't trigger, so I'll take that away. Why I say it's very interesting because when I scroll through, looking at the Kiwi dollar, finding a little bit of support, looking at the Aussie dollar, looks like it was trying to find the support. Yen pushing up. I think someone was asking about yen in the community. Right? Pound dollar trading down. Okay, so only the Kiwi and the Aussie was showing some upside move, some retracement to the upside. Um, Anticipating that the dollar is going to continue pushing up, I would say that it's not ready to sell right now, right? It's not ready to sell right now. In fact, for the Kiwi dollar, 38.2, right at this 0.6260 level, maybe what could happen on the Kiwi dollar is for it to trade up slightly higher before turning back down again. Okay, so if I have a line here, let's make it a dotted line. You could be, and I have this support level here. Okay, I think while this support makes sense for the 19th, 18th, and 19th of April, it doesn't really make sense right now as a support. I'll have it right there, right the previous swing low level. So what you could be looking for here is for it to trade up slightly, then look to sell down. Safest option would be selling at 6627, 40 pips stop loss, 40 pip take profit to the downside. You could take a little bit of risk and look at 624 6245, 20 pip stop loss, 60 pip almost 60 pip take profit to the downside. Okay, so there is that option. And I think in this case, it should be reasonable to take on this little bit of risk. So I would say 6245, 20 pip stop loss, 60 pip take profit, sell down on the Kiwi dollar. Sell 0.6245, stop loss 20, take profit 60. Right? So with that, then looking at the Aussie, I was right before this session. I was looking at this 6640 level, thinking that it's going to hold, anticipating that dollar strength, possible dollar strength, could see this break, could see the Aussie break this level. Okay, so I'll take that away because it's not relevant anymore. It's moved on. Um, what you could be looking for, I mean, naturally looking to sell this down at about below 6630, stop loss 25 pips, take profit could be down to that previous swing low here of about 50 pips would be reasonable. Right? I think if it does bounce up, then we might see it trade back down again. Despite the Aussie employment numbers due tomorrow, I think that that downward pressure is possibly going to maintain and push the Aussie to the downside. So it might trade up a little bit before coming back down. So 6630, 25 pips stop loss, 50 pip take profit level. So 0.6630, stop loss 20, take profit 50, 25 actually. 25 and take profit 50. All right, so what I'll try and do as well is have different scenarios because as much as we're expecting that dollar strength to push up, it could very well get there within the next couple of hours. And if it does retrace, maybe it doesn't retrace halfway, it comes all the way back down again. So we'll look at some possible dollar strength scenario and some possible dollar weakness scenario. Aussie looks like it's moving quite reasonably. Could be a trade that we look into quite soon. Kiwi dollar still looking for some upside. US yen was the big one that I was looking at yesterday. Right, so it didn't drop and bounce. So let's take those scribbles away. Didn't sell down. we were looking. So US yen, we were looking for that breakout potential to buy above 136.40, which was right there. Okay, I did take on a little bit more risk. I got in at about 136.20 or somewhere there. I got in earlier, got out towards the end of the night. I was out my trade, didn't write the whole thing up. But this morning I did trade the yen to the upside again. So right now, looking at this, I would say that right, you got this here. Okay, it's broken above 61.8. Take these lines away. Um, we could see with that dollar strength possibly in play. I would say right now, maybe what you would do is wait for it to break above. It's a little bit undecided. So I think someone was asking me about, the US yen. They got in last night, still holding on to a trade. What to expect? I think it was at that level where I said it might sit there for a while, but I do anticipate further upside. If you didn't get into a trade already, I would say look for it to break above 137. If it does break above 137, then a second chance to get into a trade will be 137.10. Take profit, maybe 70 pips. Stop loss, maybe 30 pips. Below 37, that'd be reasonable. Yeah, so I'll be looking for that on the US yen, right? 137.10, 70 pips to 30 pips. So it broke out already very nicely. I'll be looking to buy 137.10. Stop loss was 30. Something to my and take profit would be about 70 pips. Okay. It's going to sit there. I think it's going to sit there um, until maybe in the next couple of hours, then it'll break out. So it's possibly not a trade that you would want to rush into right now, especially if that 137 round number level providing some resistance. Next up, the pound dollar, right? I think Buba was asking over several occasions last night. Is it ready? Is it going to go up or is it going to go down? And it was around this period, right? Around this period, and it was just showing, or zooming in, it was just showing tails and shadows to the upside and downside. And this is when, right? Don't try and force a trade on the pound dollar. A lot of other trade opportunities. We were looking for it to break above this 1.2535 level to signal that inverted head and shoulder or break of the neckline from the inverted head and shoulder. Looked very promising, but didn't close above. So that head and shoulder, inverted head and shoulder didn't work. And in fact, it is now not valid anymore. Pound dollar did, however, go up, test this level, and trade back down. So again, if you did catch the pound dollar to the downside, this would have been a lot riskier to jump into, but it worked out quite nicely in the scheme of things. They bought a 60 pip profit. Right now, it's going to get interesting. All right, well, interesting in my view. All right, right now, why is it going to get interesting? Is because it has dropped, it has broken that upward trend line. And you can see that upward trend line has been quite strong and steady since the 22nd of March. Trade to the upside now is broken down. And also, it's broken down from that previous low that we see over here over this many occasions, right? Over this many occasions. So I would say that we could be looking for some further downside on the pound dollar. However, if you were looking to sell down, maybe even from here, it would only be a 20 30, 35 pip take profit, I don't think it's worth taking that risk, even if you were to keep your stop loss at about 20 pips. Hi, Diana. You're late, but it's okay. It is recorded, so you can catch up on that. So with the pound dollar breaking, I don't think it's worth trying to trade it down to that 1.24 support level. I don't think, I think, okay, I'll change this. It's not a support level per se, just because you can see that price has really broken through it, has pretty much ignored this 1.24, but it does provide some hesitation because of a round number level. I would say that 1.2350, 1.2350 will be a better support level here. So what you could be looking for, all right, this is what you could be looking at. Digital business, euro dollar looking good sell. Okay, we're getting to that. Um, Pound dollar could be 1.2430. Stop loss maybe about 30 pips. Take profit could come down to almost 75 with a hesitation at 1.24. Okay. Yeah. All right. So look at this. In this case, you got 30 pip stop loss. If it does come down to here, you have at least a 1:1 risk reward ratio. You could close out at a hesitation level, but then we're looking for it to breeze past 1.24 and possibly go down to that 75 pip take profit. Okay, so 1.2430, 30 pip stop loss, 75 pip take profit. So 1.2430 stop loss, 30 take profit, 75 hesitation at 1.24. Good job. All right, cool. So with that, and it all looks quite nice. It all looks like it's playing out quite nicely. Aussie, Kiwi bouncing up. Aussie sitting right there, not ready yet. Yen coming close. US yen is coming close. Pound dollar as well coming close. Euro dollar looking like a very nice sell. So it did shoot up, bounce, hit that resistance area, and turn down. So again, I do know a couple of you who did get into that trade. Now that it's turning to the downside at 1.0840, very strong, well, previous swing low here at 1.0830. So it might look like a good selling opportunity, but it could very well hit this level and bounce. So just be extra careful there. I would say that the next support level at 1.0790 could be more interesting. Okay, and if I did that, you see that right 340 right now. If it closes like that, we're most likely going to see a bounce on the euro dollar because it's outside that Bollinger Band. So if it does bounce up a little bit, it's like continue trading down through the next couple of hours, then a safer option will be to look to sell the euro dollar down 1.0825. Stop loss can be very tight at about 20 pips. Take profit would be at about 30. You could go for a tighter stop here, maybe 15, 1:2, finding that support there. Okay, I'm okay with that. Okay, so it is coming down. I'm looking for it to maybe what would be better if it comes down, test this level, bounces up a little bit before, so a bit like that. It comes down, test, bounce, and comes down. Then you could be looking to sell the euro dollar down. 1.0825, stop loss 15, take profit 30. Just be very careful, guys. You do realize that it's all selling, 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 trading that dollar strength. Just don't want to be caught over committed to that dollar strength, and then seeing the dollar weakness, you get caught in all positions. So just make sure you're not over trading into one particular direction of bias. All right, I think this could really well happen. Good. Okay. Any questions? Let me know. US Swiss franc. Unfortunately, I would have loved to trade this. Just don't have enough real estate space on my screen to look at all these charts. But it came down as planned, bounced off this trend line, went back up. Now trading towards that 0.89, almost 0.8990 level, right? So it's coming towards our take profit. That's done and dusted. Let me know if you got into that trade. Now, if the dollar continues to strengthen, then we're definitely going to see the US Swiss franc push up. But very strong resistance here at 0.90. Very strong resistance here. I would be tempted to say that it could trade up. Okay, I don't think it'd be worth trying to do a trade here, also because it's the US Swiss franc. But I think it could do this. It could trade up and then turn back down again. Right? Just because it hasn't broken this level. We've seen this point here. Let me check H4. We have a big swing level here at 0.968. If you just consider that swing high, 91, or that one there. Okay, then you might want to do this. Right? Don't trade it into that resistance. It's not worth trying to trade it into that resistance now. I would rank this very low because it is breaking a very strong resistance level. We could see it break. We could see it break, retrace before maybe going up again. But what could be looking for here will be a buy about above 0.9. So it needs to break above that 0.9 resistance level. So 9010, take profit 50 pips, stop loss 20, 25 pips below that round number level. Liverpool, it is on H1 time frame. Everything's on H1 time frame. The watermark here. Okay, Suki, I will look at pound Aussie. Give me a second there. 9010, stop loss 20, take profit 50. Buy 9010, stop loss 20, take profit 50. Is it 50? Yeah. Okay, there we go. I'll finish up on the USCAD and then we'll look at the pound Aussie. USCAD, as we were talking about it earlier in the session, it came down. It found that support at 61.8 before bouncing back up. Right now, dollar strength pushing the USCAD higher. Not a typical, not a typical pattern. Or rather, I like for it to be a bit more distinctive. But you can see almost a little bit of an inverted head and shoulder there on the USCAD. Right. So you have a shoulder there, shoulder, head, inverted head and shoulder, broke above that neckline, and that's why we're seeing that. One of the reasons why we're seeing some upward potential on the USCAD. Needs to break above that 1.3525 resistance level, which you can see was the previous swing levels. Could climb up towards the previous high. I wouldn't put this here. Okay, so I'll take this away because it's not valid. It's broken already. Could see this trade up 1.3540, stop loss 25 pips, take profit 90 pips to the upside with a hesitation at 1.3570. How do you like that one on the USCAD? Um, no major CAD news, so I'm not too concerned. We do have crude oil inventories possibly coming up. So I think USCAD should be okay with that. Why I'm hesitating is because, let me just put this in 1.3540, buy 1.3540, stop loss 25, take profit 90. Okay, take profit 90 pips. Why I'm why I'm a bit hesitant is because it looks like we're very committed towards that dollar strength, right? It looks like we're very committed to that dollar strength. At this point, it could very well be the case, right? Looking at the way the dollar index is spiking to the upside, it could get to that 103. Um, but I would say that try and I'll look at how price goes. I'll update you guys in the trading community, but try and prioritize your trade. I don't think it's all going to move in that same direction at that same time. Okay, so get into a it might be a Kiwi dollar be a lot later. Aussie dollar might come in earlier than the Kiwi, so might rank the Aussie a little bit higher. Yen, right at the end of this session, I might be looking to buy the yen up again as it breaks above 137. Pound dollar is almost triggered, right? It's almost triggered there. So pound dollar will be ranking top. US yen maybe at the close of the hour, so second. Aussie might be third. Euro dollar way outside of Bollinger. So I think it might bounce a little bit, so maybe fourth or equal third. US Swiss franc, you know me, I don't trade that much. So if you rank quite low together with Kiwi, and also the CAD has a little bit more of distance to cover. So I think that's going to rank a bit lower as well. So that's how I will rank my trade setups. Okay. Um, then we look at the pound Aussie for Suki. Look at that. Aussie dollar, pound dollar providing that downward push. I think that one's done. 61.8 still holds. So let's take that away. 61.8 holds. I don't need the K. You know what? I see something here. Possibly. I don't think it'll fit. I don't think this will fit. It's a channel, bit of a channel to the upside. So it might come down, test this level, and bounce back up. Why I say I don't think it will work is because of the pound dollar, that current weakness in the pound dollar, or that strength in the dollar pushing pound down. Look to see what happens along 1.87. If it breaks below 1.87, good morning, Jamil. How are you doing? If it breaks below 1.87, then we could be looking to sell down 30 pip. Oops, 30 pip. So about 1.8690, 90 pip take profit, 30 pip stop loss, or 35 pip stop loss if it breaks out of that upward channel. Maybe, yeah, because pound dollar dropping, right? Pound dollar dropping looks like it's going to trigger. Aussie dollar holding right there, holding at that support level. So if Aussie dollar holds and pound dollar continues dropping, then the pound Aussie is likely to continue trading down, might break that level. All right, Suki, hope answer your question there on the pound Aussie. Then next up, this was a little bit of surprise. I did some quick scalps on gold as it broke last night, right? As it broke that 2000 level because I was expecting it to hold that 2000 level to hold. So once it broke that 2000 level and that trend line, right? Zooming out, you can see that trend line holding previously, right? So once it broke that support level and that trend line, I did get into a couple of small scalps on gold to the downside. Now that it's broken 2000, looks like it fails to rebound, possibly pushing back down. Dollar looking like it might have some strength. I think the most recent, well, early this morning at 1986 or almost 1985. More down. I mean, we're expecting the dollar to strengthen or the dollar index to show some strength. So we could be looking for it to continue pushing down. Needs to go below 1985 before we could see 1970. And then I would expect a big reaction at 1970. I would expect a big reaction at 1970, or rather, I was thinking a range in there. So 1985 down to 1970 on gold. Okay, downside potential below 1985 down to 1970. Okay, so what you also notice is that for when I look at gold for my own trades, I do scalps. I do scalping on gold. Um, on the H1 time frame, I find that on gold there are a lot of tails and spikes and big surges. I think it's relatively hard to do it on a medium term or on a daily kind of time frame. I would say that I would range if you're trading gold either on the short time frame in terms of scalping or on the more medium time frame, just looking at the overall direction. So that's why when I look at my analysis on gold, I give you a overall view rather than trying to identify that entry level stop loss and take profits. Okay. Um, Again, since I breezed through this session, you guys have been super quiet. If you have any questions, do let me know. Recently, or rather this week, today being today being Wednesday, this week hasn't been a big a big number of trades kind of day, but we do have some. If you wait for the right setup, you do get into some good trades. So don't feel like you have to be entering a lot of trades during this week. Try not to force the trades out. All right. So with that, if you have any further questions, we can always take the discussion further into the community. For now, trade well, trade safe. Thank you, Val. I'll see you all on Discord. Take care now. Bye bye.